Welcome to Speak English with me.
Improve your vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation with our engaging lessons.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Speak English with me. I'm Sam and I'm here with Emma.
Hi everyone. Today's topic can change the way your English feels, not just the words you know.
Sometimes you can speak English correctly, but your sentences still feel like they came from a textbook.
Yes, you might say, "Please help me," or "I forgot," or "It's not important." Those sentences are clear and correct, but everyday English often has another layer.
And that's where idioms come in. Today, we're looking at everyday idioms you can actually hear and use in normal conversations.
Thank goodness, because I remember doing that when I was learning another language. I had a notebook full of expressions and felt proud of myself. Then I met a real person and suddenly couldn't remember a single one.
Wait, really?
Really. My brain basically said, "Good luck." So I learned something important. An expression becomes useful when you understand the situation and the feeling behind it.
Let's start with something simple. Imagine you're carrying 3 heavy bags, your phone is ringing, and someone asks you to open the door.
I can already feel the stress.
You could say, "Can you help me?" But a natural expression is, "Can you give me a hand?" Here, "give me a hand" simply means, "help me."
If I say, "Emma, can you give me a hand with these boxes?" I'm asking you to help me move them.
You can use it in ordinary situations. "Can you give me a hand with this report?" Or, "Could you give me a hand in the kitchen?"
I like this one because it sounds friendly.
Now imagine you make a small mistake at work. Maybe you send a message to the wrong person or forget to buy milk.
You might think, "Oh no, I've ruined everything."
But maybe it isn't serious. Someone might say, "No big deal."
No big deal means the problem isn't serious. For example, "Sorry I'm 5 minutes late." No big deal, we just got here.
Or, "I spilled coffee on the table." No big deal, I'll clean it up.
I love the feeling behind this expression. It can calm someone down. Sometimes people don't need a long explanation. They just need to hear, "Relax, it's no big deal."
And that brings us to hang in there.
This is for someone having a difficult time, when you want to encourage them not to give up. If your friend is exhausted from studying, you might say, "I know you're tired, but hang in there, you're almost finished."
Or if someone has been looking for a job for months, keep going, hang in there.
It carries warmth. You're saying, "I know this is hard, but I believe you can get through it."
That's what makes these expressions powerful. They don't just replace basic English, they carry emotion and personality.
And once you connect an idiom with a real situation and feeling, it becomes much easier to remember. Then, when a similar moment happens in your own life, the phrase is ready for you.
That's a good point because sometimes the hardest part isn't learning an expression, it's knowing when a real person would actually say it. Take this one. "It slipped my mind." I started using it after I realized how often I said, "I forgot," when I wanted to sound more natural.
I use "it slipped my mind" when I genuinely forgot something without meaning to. If you say, "I was supposed to call my sister yesterday, but it slipped my mind," it sounds different from simply saying, "I forgot."
Right, there's almost a softer feeling in it. You're admitting that something disappeared from your memory.
And there's a funny thing about forgetting. Sometimes you remember a tiny detail from 10 years ago, but completely forget the one thing you promised to do this morning.
That happens to me. Someone will say, "Did you send that email?" And I'll freeze because I suddenly remember everything except that email.
Then you can say, "Oh, I'm sorry, it slipped my mind. I'll send it now."
Now imagine you're traveling. Your hotel loses your reservation, your phone is almost dead, and you have no idea where to go.
That sounds like the beginning of a terrible holiday.
It does, and you might say, "I'm in a bit of a pickle."
I love that expression because it sounds almost funny, even when the situation isn't funny. "I'm in a bit of a pickle" means you're in a difficult or awkward situation and need to figure out what to do.
You could say, I forgot my wallet at home and now I'm in a bit of a pickle.
Or, my car won't start, I'm late for work, and I'm in a bit of a pickle.
Notice that you probably wouldn't use this for a huge tragedy. It works better for an annoying problem or an awkward situation.
Yes, and your voice matters too. If you smile and say, well, I'm in a bit of a pickle, you can make a stressful situation feel lighter. Natural English isn't only about vocabulary, it's also about attitude.
I really like that. Now, let's talk about work, because there's an expression I wish someone had taught me earlier. Call it a day.
Oh, that one is so useful. If you've been working for hours and decide to stop, you can say, I think we should call it a day.
It doesn't mean you're literally calling the day on the phone.
Imagine saying, hello day, we're finished now.
That would be a strange conversation.
It means, let's stop working for today. You might hear, we've done enough, let's call it a day and continue tomorrow.
And there's something satisfying about that phrase after a long day. You've been staring at your screen, answering messages, fixing problems, and your brain is getting slower.
Then someone closes the laptop and says, let's call it a day. Suddenly, everyone feels relieved. But there's another expression that can tell people something about your preferences. It's not my cup of tea.
This one lets you say you don't really like something without sounding harsh. If your friends love horror movies and you don't, you can say, horror movies aren't really my cup of tea.
Instead of saying, I hate horror movies.
It sounds softer. You're simply saying, that isn't something I personally enjoy.
You can use it for almost anything. Camping isn't my cup of tea. Or, I tried golf, but it wasn't my cup of tea.
And that's the beauty of these expressions. They give you more choices. You can choose language that matches the situation, your personality, and even your mood.
And speaking of situations where your choice of words matters, social situations are where these expressions can really make your English feel more natural. Think about meeting a group of people for the first time. Maybe you walk into a room where everyone already knows each other, and suddenly you're wondering, where do I stand? Who should I talk to?
Oh, I know that feeling. You walk in, smile at everyone, and then pretend to be very interested in your phone because you have no idea how to start a conversation.
That's when you can use the expression break the ice. It means to do or say something that makes people feel more relaxed when they first meet.
So if I'm at a new workplace and everyone is quiet during lunch, I might make a small joke or ask someone about their weekend. I'm trying to break the ice.
Exactly, and you don't have to make some brilliant joke. Sometimes a simple question is enough. How do you know everyone here? Or, have you been working here long? Those little questions can break the ice.
I think learners sometimes put too much pressure on themselves. They think they need impressive English to start a conversation.
Yes, when what people really need is a comfortable beginning. If you can make someone feel relaxed, the conversation can grow naturally from there.
And once you start talking to someone, another useful expression is get along. If you get along with someone, it means you have a good relationship and enjoy being around each other.
For example, I really get along with my new colleague. We have similar interests.
Or, my sister and I didn't get along when we were teenagers, but we're very close now.
That second example is interesting because relationships can change. You might not get along with someone at one point in your life, then understand each other much better later.
There's also a stronger expression. We get along like a house on fire.
That sounds dangerous.
It does, but it's actually positive. If two people get along like a house on fire, they become friendly very quickly and have a lot of energy together.
So if you meet someone during a trip and spend the whole afternoon laughing, talking, and discovering that you have the same sense of humor, you might say, we got along like a house on fire.
I'd probably use that for someone I clicked with very quickly.
And that word clicked is useful too. Sometimes you meet someone and the conversation just feels easy. You don't have to force it.
Now, here's a fun one. Imagine you're talking about your friend Sarah. You say, Sarah has been asking about you all morning. Then at that very moment, Sarah walks through the door.
And you say, speak of the devil.
This doesn't mean you think Sarah is evil.
Important clarification.
It simply means that the person you were just talking about has appeared. You might say, "Speak of the devil, here she is."
It's usually playful and informal. I've heard people use it when someone walks into a room at the perfect moment.
And there's one more expression that can help you understand conversations on a deeper level. Read between the lines.
That means looking beyond the literal words and trying to understand the hidden or indirect meaning.
For example, imagine your manager says, "You've been working really hard lately. Maybe you should take tomorrow off."
On the surface, that sounds like a simple suggestion.
But you might read between the lines and realize your manager can see that you're exhausted.
Or your friend says, "I'm happy for you," but their voice sounds cold and their smile disappears quickly.
You might think there's something else going on here. You're reading between the lines.
That's an important skill in English because people don't always say everything directly. Sometimes the meaning lives in the tone, the situation, and the words they choose.
And when you start noticing those little details, conversations become much more interesting. You're not just listening to English anymore. You're listening to what people really mean.
You know what I like about these expressions? Once you start noticing them, you realize how much personality they can add to an ordinary sentence. You can talk about the same situation in a very simple way, but one natural expression can make the sentence feel more alive.
Yes, and one of my favorites for that is once in a blue moon. If you say, "I go to the cinema once in a blue moon," you mean you go very rarely.
So it's not every week and probably not every month. It's something that happens only occasionally.
Right. Imagine someone asks, "Do you still play tennis?" You could say, "Not really. I play once in a blue moon."
That sounds much more conversational than saying, "I play tennis very rarely."
Although very rarely is completely fine, that's important. Idioms aren't there because basic English is wrong. They give you another way to express the same idea, often with a little more color.
I think learners sometimes hear an idiom and immediately think, "I need to use this all the time now."
Please don't do that.
Yes, imagine someone saying, "I went shopping once in a blue moon every 2 minutes."
That would become a blue moon emergency.
And you would probably never want to talk about the moon again.
Another expression that comes up often is under the weather. This one is useful when you're feeling a little sick or not quite yourself.
So if I wake up with a headache, I can tell Emma, "I'm feeling a bit under the weather today."
And I might say, "You should take it easy and get some rest."
It usually suggests something mild. You probably wouldn't use under the weather if you were describing a serious medical emergency.
Exactly. It's more like, "I'm not feeling great today." Maybe you have a cold, a headache, or you simply feel tired and uncomfortable.
I remember one morning when I was supposed to meet a friend for breakfast. I woke up feeling terrible, but I didn't want to cancel because we hadn't seen each other in weeks.
What happened?
I called him and said, "I'm feeling a little under the weather. Could we do this another day?" And he immediately said, "Of course, take care of yourself."
That's a good example of how natural expressions can make everyday communication feel softer. You're not giving a dramatic medical explanation. You're simply telling someone how you feel.
Now let's move into something that comes up all the time at work, in school, and even in relationships, being on the same page.
This one is incredibly useful. If two people are on the same page, they have the same understanding about something or agree about what needs to happen.
Imagine you're working on a project with 3 other people. One person thinks the deadline is Friday, another thinks it's Monday, and the third person thinks nobody has decided yet.
Then you have a problem. A very easy sentence would be, "We need to agree about the deadline."
But in a real conversation, someone might say, "Before we continue, let's make sure we're all on the same page."
That sounds natural because it focuses on shared understanding, not just agreement.
You can use it with friends too. If you're planning a trip, you might say, "Let's make sure we're on the same page about the budget before we book anything."
Or in a relationship, you might say, "I just want to know if we're on the same page about where this is going."
That one can be a little more serious.
Very serious.
because sometimes being on the same page matters emotionally, not just practically.
Now, let's take a lighter one. A piece of cake.
This is one learners often recognize quickly. If something is a piece of cake, it means it's very easy.
That English exercise was a piece of cake.
Fixing the problem was a piece of cake.
Although we should be careful. If someone says the exam was a piece of cake, they're saying the exam was easy, not that they received free dessert.
Which is disappointing.
Very disappointing.
But here's a useful little upgrade. Instead of saying the interview was very easy, you could say the interview was a piece of cake.
And the expression can sound confident, sometimes even playful.
Yes, but don't use it when the situation is serious. If someone has worked incredibly hard on a difficult problem, saying that was a piece of cake might sound dismissive.
So once again, natural English is not about collecting expressions and throwing them into every conversation.
It's about understanding the situation, the relationship, and the feeling behind the words. When you understand those three things, an idiom stops being a strange phrase from a textbook and starts becoming part of your real English.
There's another side of natural English that I really like. Sometimes an idiom doesn't just tell you what happened, it tells you how you feel about what happened. That becomes especially useful when you're talking about work, goals, decisions, or something you've been struggling with for a long time.
Yes, because when we talk about real life, we rarely communicate only facts. We talk about effort, pressure, disappointment, hope, and sometimes that little voice in our head saying, "Do I really want to do this?"
And that brings us to go the extra mile.
I like this one because it describes someone who makes more effort than people normally expect.
Imagine you have a coworker who finishes their job, but then notices that you're struggling and stays for another 20 minutes to help you.
You could say, "She really went the extra mile to help me."
Or maybe you're learning English and you don't stop after your daily lesson. You listen to a podcast while walking, write down new expressions, and try to use them in conversations.
You're going the extra mile.
It doesn't mean you have to work yourself into the ground.
That's an important point. Going the extra mile is about making an additional effort because you care about the result. It isn't about exhausting yourself every single day.
I once had a teacher who did this. I handed in an essay, and instead of simply giving me a grade, she wrote several personal comments explaining where my ideas were strong and where I could make them clearer.
That kind of effort stays with you.
It does. Years later, I still remember it because she didn't have to spend that much time on my work. She chose to.
Now let's imagine you've given someone a choice. You've explained the situation, answered their questions, and told them what you think. At that point, you can say, "The ball is in your court."
This one comes from sports, especially tennis. When the ball is in your court, it's your turn to respond.
In everyday English, "the ball is in your court" means the next decision or action is up to you.
For example, I've sent you the information and answered all your questions. The ball is in your court now.
You might use it when you're waiting for someone to make a decision.
It can sound neutral, but depending on your voice, it can also sound a little firm.
Especially if you've been waiting for 3 weeks.
Then you might say, "I've done my part. The ball is in your court."
There's a little pressure in that sentence.
Definitely. Now, let's talk about a situation where there is pressure, but you know you have to face it.
Bite the bullet.
Yes, if you bite the bullet, you finally do something difficult or unpleasant because you know you can't avoid it forever.
Maybe you've been putting off a difficult conversation with someone.
You keep thinking, "I'll talk to them tomorrow."
And then tomorrow becomes next week.
Then next week becomes next month.
At some point, you have to bite the bullet and have the conversation.
You might say, "I was nervous about telling my manager the truth, but I decided to bite the bullet and talk to her."
I like this expression because it recognizes the fear. You're not pretending something is easy. You're saying, "I know this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to face it."
That's a very human feeling.
And sometimes we use a completely different expression when someone tries to avoid difficulty by doing a job badly or skipping important steps. Cut corners.
If you cut corners, you save time, money, or effort by leaving out things that should really be done.
Imagine someone building a house and deciding not to use good materials because they want to finish quickly.
They're cutting corners.
Or a student copies someone else's homework instead of doing the work themselves.
That's another kind of cutting corners.
You could say, if you want to improve your English, don't cut corners. You need to practice listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
And that connects nicely to what we've been talking about. Learning natural English takes time. There isn't a magic shortcut where you memorize 20 idioms tonight and suddenly sound like a completely different speaker tomorrow morning.
I wish there were.
Me too.
But there is something encouraging about this. Every time you understand an expression in a real conversation, you're adding another tool to your English.
And eventually, you stop translating every sentence in your head. You hear a situation, you understand the feeling, and the natural phrase comes to you.
That moment feels really good.
It does. And sometimes one small expression can make you feel like you are finally moving from studying English to actually living in it. And there's one final expression that fits perfectly with that feeling of moving forward, even when you're not sure how things will turn out. Keep your fingers crossed.
This one means you hope something goes well. For example, if I have a job interview tomorrow, I might say, keep your fingers crossed for me.
And you might say, I will. I hope it goes well.
Or maybe you're waiting for exam results. I think I did well, but I'm still nervous. Keep your fingers crossed.
It's a very natural way to express hope, especially when you're waiting for an uncertain result.
So let's see how much you remember. I'll give you a situation and you tell yourself which expression fits best. Your friend forgot to reply to an important email.
It slipped my mind.
Good. You've been working since morning and you're too tired to continue.
Let's call it a day.
Your friend is struggling but refuses to give up.
Hang in there.
You meet someone new and start a friendly conversation to make everyone comfortable.
Break the ice.
You and your colleague have the same understanding about a project.
We're on the same page.
Your friend asks whether you enjoy going camping, but you really don't.
It's not my cup of tea.
You have to do something difficult that you've been avoiding.
Bite the bullet.
Someone has done much more than you expected to help you.
They went the extra mile.
And someone has finished their part, so now you have to make the next decision.
The ball is in your court.
Look at how much more expressive those short phrases can make everyday English feel. But remember, the goal isn't to sound impressive. The goal is to sound comfortable, natural, and appropriate for the situation.
And that's our little word tour for today. Give me a hand is a friendly way to ask for help. No big deal makes a small problem feel less serious. Under the weather describes feeling slightly unwell, while read between the lines means looking for a deeper or hidden meaning.
And if you remember only one thing from this conversation, remember this. Don't force idioms into your English. Listen to how people use them, notice the situation, and start with the expressions that genuinely fit your life.
If you're learning English with us, tell us which idiom from today's conversation you're going to try first.
And keep practicing, keep listening, and keep giving yourself chances to use English in real situations. That's how these expressions slowly become your own.